Oh, hello everyone. How are you? This is a good old-fashioned Tabitha Jane driving video where I have the time while I'm driving to record a video, but I don't know how to undo everybody else's driver's license plates and all that good stuff, but I have the thoughts. So this is a good old Tabitha Jane listening only, take me while you're gardening, all that good stuff video. Okay, so what in the Michelle Sabate is going on here? Okay, I am disgusted that anybody is giving her a platform. She will do whatever she can to be more and more ruthless and reckless to get the attention that she craves. Her addiction to drugs is as bad as her addiction for attention. We have seen this cycle for more than, 2 years? Are we 2 years in watching the Michelle shit show? Are we really? Have we not watched this cycle go over and over? When Molly was deep involved in this, when MGL came on the scene stalking Molly, Molly did what she had to do in reporting Michelle's behavior as she was threatening to not be there the next day, etc., etc. The veiled threats of unaliving, blah, 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 blah. Well, we watched that cycle back and forth, and what it does is that then she catches a new mommy, someone that she literally will call mommy. She'll catch maybe a new Captain Save-A-Ho, and she always has her sugar daddies on the rotodial, the Rolodex, if you know what I mean. So she has all of these people who are giving her money. That money enables her to buy the drugs that she has. She is not currently being prescribed any medication, as the doctors have known for more than a year that she is actively drinking alcohol. That means that there is no doctor who would be prescribing her opioids or benzos or sleeping pills, right? My sleeping pills. She may have old prescription bottles that she is putting those drugs into to make them look like they belong in there, but there is no doctor signing off and letting her do this, because this is how people die. She is doing the combination of alcohol, opioids, or alcohol and benzos is what is getting people. So they may be like, oh, I'm not drinking that much, I'm cutting back on drinking, but they're still taking the drugs, and they're mixing the two, especially the Xanax, very, very, very often cited in these accidental overdoses. For more than a year, I have been shocked every time she pops back up. Every time she's not on for 24 hours, I assume the worst. I have never seen anybody survive what she is doing. So either she is exaggerating what she's doing, far be it for me to think she's exaggerating on anything and not being truthful, or she's not human. My sister was deep in her addiction, and finally to the point where, so she was 28, and I took the steps that my family did not agree with, but it was my opinion that my sister was not going to wake up, because she was doing this combination stuff in a fraction of what I'm seeing Michelle do. So it was kind of the same thing. The charges were coming. She had 7 felonies at one point, but my sister was young and cute, and anytime a judge would see her, believe her, blah, 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 and let her off. Nothing was happening, and she didn't drive. She, would have a cab, whatever. So she was pretty good in that. I mean, she did drive sometimes, but didn't have any driving infractions. So that helped. However, she was becoming more and more increasingly in dangerous situations. In that she was living the life of Michelle, and she had been abducted, human trafficked, And the person who tried to, a stranger tried to intervene. He saw her being held as he delivered food, and that stranger was shot and did not survive. So it was my opinion that people were now losing their lives trying to save my sister, who would not save herself. And so I did what was not popular in the family that as you all know, I've grown up on my own since I was 12. I've been through 14 foster homes, and a long story. But I would step in when I could try to help my siblings a little bit, because that was one of the hardest things of making the choice that I did to run, because I didn't think I was going to survive the abuse. And so when I could try to step in to influence my siblings in a better way to get them to a safer path, I would try. And I tried with my sister. So I got her attorney on board, because he was defending her and getting her off of all these things. And I was like, look what you're doing. You're going to put her in an early grave. And he's like, but she's hiring me to defend herself out of this. And I was like, well, yeah, well, you're going to write her death warrant too. And so I went with the prosecutor, and I got them to go ahead and put all 7 charges forth, so her attorney could not get her off. They had to make a deal, and that deal was to incarcerate her. And I did that. I set it up so she was arrested. I did that. I was further ostracized from my family for daring to put my sister in prison, blah, blah, blah. But my theory is that she needed to outgrow her addiction, because a lot of people do that as they get older. They will outgrow their addiction. Michelle is the exception to that rule, and I have never seen anybody live as long as Michelle has in as deep and serious as her addiction is. So my sister, being the beautiful little thing that she was, did her good behavior and everything, and got out of prison way before her sentence should have been over. And she was let out and she was supposed to report to rehab, so they let her out on that. She didn't let that part of the getting out be known to anybody. So she went and she got married real quick, and had a great time for the last 4 weeks of her life. And she just turned 29 and didn't wake up. She was taking one fraction of what Michelle was, but it was the combo. So my sister's passing was the combination overdose. Nothing in excess. I mean, there was alcohol and there were opioids, and she was on an antidepressant as well. And that's one of the things. So when I see Michelle doing this, and I know my sister was, you would not know my sister had an issue. She was beautiful, vibrant, just cute as could be. Nothing like this. She had a few of those sores that Michelle has, but they were hidden more. They would get into the deep skin infections and stuff, and I'd try to help them. But again, I was not in the same city she was. I was trying to do what I could from, at that point, just stayed away. And as y'all know, I was dealing with an illness as well. So I had to plan her funeral and do everything from my hospital bed. So, when I come into this and I'm looking at Michelle, I'm doing this as you all do not know what a miracle it is every time she's waking up. Every time she's making it from this to this. These falls that she's having, blaming it on the flip-flops and stuff, she's fallen down drunk. And she's been falling down drunk, trying to text on the egg or toast or whatever for how many years now? It's a miracle she's alive. So, about a year ago, right about this time, right? We all thought that, the Hurricane Michelle shitstorm was going to be over because Etienne was going to get the house back. That she was going to go because she was not going to be able to have, a home to have her reign of terror continue in, and the Michelle shit show would be over. That Etienne was going to have met his obligation to the mortgage and he was going to be able to put it up for sale. And now we've watched none of that has happened because she has absolutely stomped on, pulled out, excoriated, set on fire, pulled it back out, shat upon, pulled it back out, peed on, put it back, tore it apart, put it back, and then rubbed some cement lime on it of Etienne's insides and soul. And then put his soul back in. When she was done pissing shit and setting on fire, putting the lime on it. The man is shattered from the inside out. As I pointed out when it wasn't popular for anybody to hear. Now remember, my videos where I did showing Etienne as the victim, showing him as the veteran with PTSD, I did those videos myself more than a year ago when nobody was listening and they were still believing her crap and people had not identified him as a veteran with PTSD. I did that. You can go back and look at my videos and see that I did that. I was the one who identified him as having combat stress PTSD in the way that his eyes were. He has that 40-yard stare. I've seen it too many times to count. His eyes are dark and he is disassociated and she's climbing on him and clawing on him and he is doing everything he knows to do to not engage her. He is not fighting back. I shudder to think of what happened the one time when he must have put his arm up and knocked her down to the effect that then she called the police and had him arrested. Because how much had he been taking from her and how humiliating was it for him to have been handcuffed and taken away, which then she spent the next how many months calling up everybody in his command, going on base, not leaving, telling everybody what a monster he was after he had lived his whole life being a very admirable military man in a high-ranking position. He had not trusted anybody. She got in because she knew that he was a person that she could take advantage of and rip his soul out, shit, fire it, tear it apart, and put it back in. This is a broken man. He will not stand up to her to this point. Because he will not put that house up for sale, she has a glimmer of hope thinking that that means he still loves her, and her love is measured in currency. Love to her is what you can give her, and what you can give her is translated into using as a substance or filling her need for attention. It is important right now to not support the channels that are giving Michelle any airtime. It is important right now to not give in. It is important right now to not troll Etienne. It's not funny to do so. It's not funny to trick him into anything. I don't know how much more that man can take. Let's not forget what she told us his brother did. And I think the only reason he has not done that is to honor his mother, because his mother can't take losing two sons. This is not funny. This is not a joke. This is a broken man. I understand that people think this is funny. I understand that people think it's not real. But we are dealing with the real possibility of the loss of life happening very soon. So, what has to happen is for Michelle to actually check into rehab and go in there and have the doors locked for at least 2 years. 1 year it will take a minimum of her to get all of the drugs out of her system. And another year for her to get her head on straight and not to be doing any of this other crap. What, 3 weeks ago she lied and said she checked into rehab? And then, she just came back out and is fine? No, none of it is true. This bullshit now that she has signed over her financial interest in the house to her son is her way of trying to lure her son back in and trying to tell us all that, oh, poor little Shelly, she may not make it to the next day. Well, that's her choice. If she chooses to go into rehab and stay in rehab and let the house go so that ETN can get whatever he can out of it and move on, let him do that. It's obvious that ETN is not going to do anything until she's gone. She knows this, so she's also playing it because she knows that if she checks into rehab, she surrenders that house. How many people are going to continue to enable this woman to her death? Each dollar, each cash app that you give her is buying her pills, is buying her alcohol, is buying those cigarettes. Stop the money. I have said it too many times. Stop the money. Anybody giving her money or a platform right now is wrong. She should not be on YouTube. YouTube has taken away all of her channels, all 50 of them, to the effect that they blocked her ISP. Allowing her on your channel is channel circumvention. It is not allowed. There have been people who have lost their entire channels for much less. And Ski has lost his channel more than once. What he's doing by allowing her up is confusing to me because she had him arrested and was trying to have people hurt him, have him fall downstairs, having people inside the prison be paid to unalive him with the money that she begs off of you people, thinking that you're doing something good. So now she pays to get on Ski's panel with the money you give her to buy her drugs? What is it going to take you people to understand? That until the money dries up, her life is at risk. If she has no money, she has to go into rehab. And yes, that will mean that she will lose the house that she's thrashed. Is it right to continue to let her thrash that house? You've all seen it. Is that right? Would you do that to a house? She has not had to pay one bill. As she said, ETN even pays for the toilet paper she wipes her twat with. Is that okay? You support that? It's disgusting. So please. And yes, ETN's a vet. I talked about that. Again, when it was not popular. I identified that because I'm a military wife, and I said that how many months ago? When nobody was listening. I am the one who brought this up. But it's important to me. It disgusted me when she was exploiting TRICARE, because as a military wife, you don't do that. With my children, I made sure they didn't have one more medication than they needed or one more doctor's visit than they needed, because I wouldn't take away from something that is there for our military families. And for her to continue to do so with TRICARE as a backup, however it still is wrong. She's now going to the emergency room once a week trying to get drugs by hurting herself. That can only happen because you are giving her money. Right now, it is important to do what I did for my sister and get the DA to put together the charges. If we don't put together the charges, then charges will not be filed. And the people of Hamilton, Georgia, and wherever else she goes and drives drunk are in peril. As we saw, Sheriff Jolly would not take us seriously. Sheriff Jolly was rumored to be sleeping with her, and who knows whether he was or not, because any normal sheriff's department would have charged her for shooting at ETN. ETN tried to leave her as the victim that he was. He tried to leave her, and she did everything saying, well, if you do this, I'll kill your dog. If you do this, you're leaving me, blah, blah, blah. So he finally got away. And that is when she faked the stroke. Sure, She may have had stroke symptoms. That's what happens when you abuse cigarettes, alcohol, and opioids and everything else. Everything that she is doing to herself is causing her to be at a great risk to have a stroke, have another stroke in her world. But when she has these things, sure, they're going to say they need to rule out a stroke, or she has bad circulation, as we saw. They told her not to smoke. She got kicked out of that hospital for using the drugs that were not prescribed to her over a year ago. How could this possibly continue? The only way it continues is by all of you enabling the money. So when you see people enabling her, sticking up for her, remind them that without the money, she cannot be an addict. Without the platform, she cannot get the attention to manipulate others into it. It's time to focus on getting a hold of the authorities who can and will do something, because right now they don't see this. They don't see what we see. And when is it going to be too late? The high profile story of the newlyweds who had just gotten married, who were tragically killed from a drunk driver going to their reception, comes to mind. As I just saw in the comments, somebody said that they lost their four-year-old child to a drunk driver. Those comments break me, because so many people are touched by drunk drivers in ways that alter generations to come and ruin lives. Why are we sitting back thinking it's funny watching her drive drunk and exploit a veteran and exploit the system? Your taxes go to pay what Michelle is doing. And I know all these people, no, it's not your taxes. She paid into that. No, she's been getting SSI, however you want to say it. I don't want who to make another video because she is an expert in whatever. Bottom line is, Michelle is living off of the system and off of the e-bagging that people enable her to get. Encourage her to go to rehab, because that's the only way she's going to be alive. And right now, this sympathy thing of giving the rights over and whatnot, when ETN finally left her, she got him back by faking the stroke, okay, the one time. That's how the dogs came into this and all this and all this and all this, the whole shit show that became, Michelle faking a stroke. Faking a stroke to get him to care for her to come back. And then when he left again, he got the courage to leave again. She euthanized his dog. There were 3 dogs. One was ETN's. Now she's talking about having to put Jake down. Why is that? Why can't she give those dogs to the trainer or whatever? Why can't she let what's-her-face have those dogs like she had for a while? Why can't she do what's right? Because with Michelle, she pulls the little games with whatever, when it was her children, and she threatened to unalive her children if she didn't get her way. She lost her parental rights forever. Her parental rights were terminated. So she got the dogs to do the same thing. Whatever she has in her care, she will exploit and kill to get what she wants. If she drives drunk and God forbid hurts or unalives somebody, how are we all going to feel? Saying, you know what? Oh yeah, well we watched and we were laughing when she did this that week and she did that. No, it's not funny. It's not funny. Are there funny things? Yeah. Her trying to crank a turd pole because she's got the septic all messed up and everything. Yeah, those things are funny because you have to laugh at the ridiculous stuff that you are seeing in the Michelle shit show. But now it's gone too far. Way too far. In this, her giving things away. Oh yes, that's what you see when somebody's going to unalive themselves. It's this and that. So what are we supposed to do? Call for a well person check and have her laugh at us again that she fooled us? Because how many times has she done this and people call in the well person check? Bottom line, every single time she does it, she gets a new enabler. She gets a new person coming in. How would you ladies feel if this was, they were talking about your husband and everything? Yeah, did you see those comments? How would you, you know what? Fine. The second that I act like Michelle, go ahead. Show every video of me acting like Michelle. Go ahead. Go ahead. Because you're not going to find it, because I don't and I wouldn't. Because I respect the veteran in my life and all veterans, because they fought for me when I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know. I didn't know that ETN was out there sacrificing his good years for me to be able to speak right now. ETN and how many other thousands of men who give up their youth. So, while ETN and others like him fought for us, we need to fight for ETN to be able to get back that house in whatever condition it is and get it off of his name and allow him to go on with his life. And I pray that he finds a woman who can heal him from everything she's done. And she has a big job ahead of her. Big one. And I really hope that whoever is giving her money hears this now, that the blood is on your hands for the dollars you give her to buy drugs, cigarettes, and for her to go and euthanize Jake if that's what she's going to do. It has to stop. Get together. Find out why the charges are not being filed. Find out what dots are not being connected. It's time for a call of action to save the people of Hamilton, Georgia. I will be putting up the contact information to do so. I will be putting up the contact information for the judge, the DA, and Sheriff Jolly's department. And it's time for all of us as witnesses to come together and say that we have seen too much of this, that at this point, for the safety of all, Michelle, Lola, Robin, Sabate needs to stop putting other people in harm, and she is not able to take care of herself and is indeed a threat to those around her and herself, and especially those poor dogs who've done nothing to deserve the maltreatment they get. Michelle knows exactly what she's doing by keeping that house so that it cannot be shown and it cannot be sold. She sabotaged it. Long ago and far away, she did have a real estate agent license. She knows what she's doing. She knows that she's keeping that house from being shown. She knows that it's an embarrassment for ETN to get a real estate agent to come in there. And look, she tried to sleep with the last one and he put in a complaint. Come on. Don't watch her on YouTube. Don't watch her on Rumble. Spend that time trying to find out what the hell's wrong with the DA. And get her in rehab. And long-term rehab. Long-term. And if that has to be court-ordered, well, then that's the goal. Because if people, she has gotten a lot of attention. And wouldn't she be the great comeback story to be there and to be able to save others from the wretch she was? Something different has to come out of this. Something different has to come out of just watching this train wreck. And we can be a part of that. And we need to put pressure on the DA. It's time. We will save the residents of Hamilton, Georgia from the menace that they have in encroaching their community, if you will. All right, then. Off my soapbox. Thank you for listening, as this is a listening video, and I will be putting that contact information up on my community page as to who to contact and when and how. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.